Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Let's talk about something that messes with people more than they'd like to admit. Silence. It's not just the lack of words. It's a power move that shifts the entire dynamic. When you go no contact, you're not just disappearing from their life. You're taking away their sense of control. You're removing the comfort of knowing you're always there, ready to engage, ready to respond. Your absence forces them to face the reality that they can no longer manipulate your emotions or rely on your validation. And trust me, that uncertainty, it's shaking them to their core. They probably walked away thinking you'd always be there, that no matter how they treated you, you'd never go anywhere. They thought they had you figured out. But now, silence. And it's deafening. Suddenly, they're left questioning why you haven't reached out, why you're not breaking down, why it feels like they've lost something they never even appreciated when they had it. That silence, it creates a void. It leaves them with a constant sense of unease, a gnawing feeling that they no longer hold the power they once did. Your absence is making them spiral. They don't know if you still care, if you've moved on, or if you've completely erased them from your life. And that's terrifying to them. The truth is, people crave what they can't have. Your absence is like a trigger. What they thought they could live without, they now desperately want back. They were so used to having you around, but now that you're gone, it's causing chaos inside their mind. All the comfort they took for granted has turned into doubt, regret, and frustration. No contact isn't just about ignoring them. It's about making them confront the consequences of their actions. They thought they had control, that they could dictate how things would unfold. But your silence? It flips the script. You're not playing their game anymore, and that imbalance is what's driving them crazy. Here's the kicker. This is how you take back your power. It's not through words, fights, or trying to prove your worth. It's in the quiet, in the detachment, in showing that you're no longer available to be manipulated. The more they try to act like they don't care, the more they feel the weight of your absence. Today, we're going to break down why no contact messes with their mind, why it makes them obsess over you, and how you can turn it into your ultimate strength. Before we dive deep, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is my power, and they feel it. Let's get into it. Number 1, the unfinished story that haunts them. There's something deeply unsettling about an unfinished story. It's like an itch that can't be scratched, a mystery with no resolution. And when it comes to relationships, people crave closure like air. They expect a final conversation, a chance to have their say, or at least a sense of understanding about why things ended. But when you go no contact, you take that closure away. You leave them hanging, stranded in the middle of an open-ended narrative, and that, my friend, is pure psychological torment. It's like they're trapped in a story where the last chapter is missing, and no matter how hard they search, they can't find the ending. Human beings are wired to seek closure. It gives us peace of mind, a way to make sense of our emotions, and the control to move on. But when you cut them off, you strip away that ability. They don't get the closure they think they deserve. They don't get to hear your side of the story, and they certainly don't get to validate their actions. And the worst part? They don't even know if you're still thinking about them. That uncertainty? It starts to eat away at them. It's like a mental hunger they can't satisfy. At first, they might put on a brave face. They might convince themselves that they've moved on, that your silence doesn't bother them. But soon, that lack of closure starts to gnaw at their psyche. They replay old conversations in their head, analyze every word you said, and start second-guessing their choices. Every little unanswered question starts to pile up, and before they know it, they're caught in a mental spiral. Did they make a mistake? Did they misjudge you? Are you happier without them? And of course, the one that stabs the deepest. Have you completely forgotten about them? That's the one that haunts them, because if you've stopped reaching out, stopped caring, then maybe, just maybe, you've moved on. And that, my friend, is a reality their ego can't bear. They can handle all sorts of emotions: anger, regret, pleading, even hate. But indifference, silence, that's the one thing they can't wrap their heads around. Your silence is louder than any words. It says, "You're no longer relevant in my life." It says, "You no longer have control over my emotions." And that leaves them feeling powerless, something they simply cannot process. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Right now, their thoughts are drenched in regret, confusion, and doubt. They'll replay everything, wondering if they ever truly understood you, if they missed something important. And the kicker? They will never, ever get the answers they're craving. No contact ensures that they are the ones left in limbo. They are the ones questioning themselves. They are the ones haunted by an incomplete story, while you walk away unbothered, with your peace, your dignity, and your power fully intact. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am the chapter they will never finish. Number 2. Their ego can't accept that you're doing just fine. When most people walk away from a relationship, they do so with a sense of entitlement. Even if they're the one who ended things, they still expect you to suffer, to crumble under the weight of their absence. They assume you'll be heartbroken, lost in despair, and obsessed with them. Why? Because in their mind, that's how they validate their importance in your life. But here's where no contact flips the script. Instead of you chasing after them, instead of you showing them how deeply you care, you do the unimaginable. You move on. You heal. You reclaim your life. And that hits their ego harder than any confrontation or argument ever could. At first, they might shrug it off. They'll think you're just playing hard to get, trying to get a reaction out of them. But as time goes on, they realize something. They're not the center of your world anymore. You don't check in. You don't watch their every move on social media. You don't seem to be falling apart the way they thought you would. And that's when panic sets in. They begin to look for cracks in your armor, searching for any sign that you're struggling without them. Maybe you post a melancholic quote, or share a song that might hint at your pain. Maybe they think a vague status means you're still thinking of them. But then, they find nothing. Nothing but strength. Nothing but a version of you that's thriving without them. Your silence? It becomes louder than any words. It's no longer just the absence of contact. It's a powerful declaration. I don't need you. I don't miss you. I've moved on. And that's the worst possible reality for someone whose ego has been built on the idea that they control how you feel. They'll try to convince themselves you're just pretending, that you can't have really moved on so quickly. But deep down, they know the truth. They've lost their grip on you. And that realization? It burns. If you've been able to move forward without them, so easily, so gracefully, maybe they were never as important as they thought they were. Maybe it was them who lost something irreplaceable. And maybe, just maybe, they made the biggest mistake of their life. As Epictetus wisely said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. And your greatest power? You don't want them. You don't need their approval, their validation, or their attention. You've cut them loose, and that's why they're the ones suffering now, not you. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I owe them nothing. Not my attention, not my pain, not my time. Number 3. The void you left behind is too loud to ignore. The most painful lesson in life is realizing the value of something only after it's gone. When they had you, they took your presence for granted. They assumed you'd always be there, always the one reaching out, always the one caring. Your effort, your loyalty, it was a given, something they never questioned. But now they're faced with the void you left behind. Those small, everyday moments, the good morning texts, the late-night heart-to-hearts, the way you always understood them when no one else could. Those weren't trivial. They were the very heartbeat of the comfort they felt in their life. And now, with you gone, that heartbeat has stopped, and they're left to feel the emptiness in every corner of their existence. At first, they might have been relieved. They might have convinced themselves that walking away was the right decision, that they'd be better off without you. Maybe they even thought you'd come running back, eager to return to the way things were. But then silence settled in, and that silence, it's deafening. It's screaming in their face, reminding them of everything they've lost. The ego hates to admit it's made a mistake, so they'll try to fill the emptiness with distractions, new relationships, shallow conversations, endless nights out, anything to keep the hollow feeling at bay. But no matter how much noise they make, it never drowns out the truth. You were the one who made them feel seen, understood, valued. And now, they have nothing to replace that feeling. The loneliness they're experiencing isn't just about being alone. It's about feeling invisible, disconnected, like they no longer matter. Your absence has become a mirror reflecting their dependence on you, a harsh reality they can't avoid. You were their emotional anchor, their safe space, and now that anchor has been ripped away. They're left adrift, searching desperately for something or someone to fill that gap. But deep down, they know it'll never be the same. No one else can care for them the way you did. No one else can make them feel the peace, the comfort, the understanding that you gave so effortlessly. Now, they're forced to face the void. The emotional depth they took for granted has vanished, and they're stuck trying to recreate something that can never be replaced. They have to sit with the painful truth. They let something precious slip away. Your absence speaks volumes without a single word. It's a constant reminder of what they lost and will never get back. And you? You walk away knowing that you were the source of that warmth. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am the void they can't fill. Number 4. The more they try to move on, the more they think about you. Here's the undeniable truth about the human mind. What we resist persists. The harder they try to forget you, the more their mind pulls them back, relentlessly. At first, they probably convinced themselves that walking away was the right decision. They might have told themselves that you were replaceable, that they could easily move on and fill the space you once occupied. But deep down, they underestimated the power you had in their life. And now, the truth is starting to hit them like a ton of bricks. Every time they try to distract themselves, whether it's going on a date, scrolling through social media, or hanging out with friends, your presence lingers in the back of their mind. It's subtle at first, But the comparisons start to creep in. They catch themselves subconsciously measuring everyone they meet against the way you made them feel. They try to convince themselves they've moved on, but their mind betrays them. New conversations don't spark the same interest. New people don't offer the same connection. They laugh, they pretend. But the moment the distractions fade and they're left alone with their thoughts, one question keeps echoing in their mind. Why can't I stop thinking about them? This is the quiet power of no contact. It's not just about cutting them off. It's about letting their own mind do the heavy lifting for you. Your silence plants a seed in their thoughts, one they can't shake. It forces them to confront the truth of what they've lost. And the more they try to move on, the deeper that truth digs in. They'll try to fill the void with someone else, believing a new relationship will erase your memory. But instead of moving forward, they find themselves stuck in a cycle of comparisons. Maybe it's the way you really listen to them, without judgment or interruption. Maybe it's the inside jokes, the effortless conversations, the connection that felt natural and real. With every comparison, they come face to face with the painful reality. No one can replace what they had with you. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And right now, their thoughts are consumed by you. Not because you're reaching out, not because you're chasing them, but because you've left them with nothing to hold on to. The mind craves resolution, and they can't let go of unfinished business. They might try to act indifferent. They might post pictures, go out of their way to show they've moved on. But these actions? They're all about proving something. To themselves, to others, maybe even to you. Because deep down, they know, the more they try to run from the past, the more it haunts them. You are unforgettable, not because you forced them to remember, but because you walked away with dignity, leaving them to wrestle with their own regrets. And that's a battle they can't win. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am unforgettable, and they feel it. Number 5. They start overanalyzing your every move. When you were a part of their life, there was a sense of certainty. They knew how you felt, they knew you cared, and they probably took your predictability for granted. If they reached out, you would respond. If they pulled away, you'd chase after them, trying to make things right. They thought they had you figured out, that they had complete control over how things would unfold. But now you're a complete enigma, and for someone who once felt so in control, that's the kind of chaos that keeps them up at night. The moment you go silent, their mind becomes their worst enemy. Every single unanswered question starts to fester and grow into an obsession. They begin to overanalyze every little thing you've ever said or done, even the things they never gave a second thought to before. Why haven't you texted? Are you seeing someone else? Have you really moved on? Did you ever even love me? They start retracing their steps, looking for clues in old messages, stalking your social media, maybe even reaching out to mutual friends to piece together the puzzle of your mind. Anything to make sense of this silence. But here's the kicker. The more they search for answers, the less they find, and that drives them to the brink. The longer there's no closure, no response, the more their mind spins into a web of its own fears and assumptions. They begin wondering, what if they're happier without me? What if they've already replaced me? And now, they're spiraling, overthinking every little thing, tortured by self-doubt and regret. They can't stop themselves, and the obsession grows with each unanswered moment. This is where the power of no contact becomes undeniable. It's not just the absence of communication, it's the absence of everything. It's the fact that you've created a space where your silence speaks louder than any words ever could. And in that silence, they're forced to sit with their own thoughts, their own insecurities, their guilt. And that's a storm they never expected. They might start posting cryptic quotes, uploading stories that hint at missing you, pretending to be unaffected. But it's all a facade. Deep down, every move they make is a cry for a reaction from you, any sign that you still care. Because when someone is left in the dark, even the smallest flicker of light becomes their lifeline. As Seneca wisely said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Right now, their imagination is running wild. They're not suffering because of anything you did. They're suffering because their own mind won't let them rest. They're creating scenarios that aren't real, replaying the past over and over, trying to figure out where they went wrong. But here's the truth. Their overanalyzing is not your problem. Their regret, confusion, and endless search for answers, that's their battle, not yours. Your silence isn't cruelty. It's a boundary. It's your way of saying, "I'm no longer part of this game," and that realization, that's what's truly breaking them. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Their overthinking is their burden to carry. Number 6, their pride stops them from reaching out, but it's killing them inside. There's one thing keeping them from reaching out to you, and it's not a lack of desire. It's their pride. It's not that they don't want to talk to you, and it's certainly not that they don't miss you. It's that sending a message would force them to confront something they're not ready to admit. They were wrong. They miscalculated. They lost something they thought would always be there, and that's a blow to their ego they can't bear. Pride is a powerful, toxic force. It convinces people to mask their true feelings, to hide behind walls, to pretend they're unaffected. They tell themselves they're fine, that they don't need to reach out to you, that they can easily move on without you. But deep down, they're not fine. They're waiting. They're waiting for you to be the one to break the silence, to reach out first, so they can slip back in without having to admit their mistake. They thought time would be on their side, that you'd crack before they did, that your longing for them would eventually outweigh your dignity. But here's the twist. They underestimated you. They thought you'd fold under the weight of their absence, but instead, you've stood strong. And with every passing day, your silence is echoing in their mind, reminding them just how wrong they were. They find themselves replaying old conversations, sifting through messages they once dismissed, looking for any sign that maybe, just maybe, you were still thinking about them. They hover over your name, the temptation to send a message almost overwhelming. But then, their pride kicks in. What if you don't respond? What if you reject me? That fear paralyzes them, and once again, they pull back. They try to convince themselves that ignoring you is the right choice, that by not reaching out, they're somehow in control. But deep inside, they know. Pride isn't power. It's a trap. It's holding them prisoner in their own shame. While you, on the other hand, continue to move forward, free and unbothered. This is the beauty of no contact. It forces them to confront their ego, to sit with their regrets, and to realize they could fix this situation, but only if they let go of their pride. The longer they hold on to it, the more unbearable it becomes. Time only makes you seem more distant, and the person they thought they could come back to is no longer waiting. The truth they're avoiding is this. By the time they're ready to swallow their pride, it might be too late. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Their pride is their burden, not mine. Number 7. The final blow. You've outgrown them. Here's the truth they're too afraid to face. You are no longer the person they once knew. The version of you that they left behind is gone, replaced by someone stronger, wiser, and more unapologetically themselves. They thought you would stay frozen, stuck in the past, waiting for them to return and pick up where they left off. But instead, you took the silence, the pain, and the heartbreak, and transformed it into fuel for your growth. You didn't just move on, you evolved. You became better, more focused, more aligned with your own truth than you ever were when you were with them. This is the ultimate betrayal in their mind. Not just losing you, but realizing they can never return to the person they once knew. They were comfortable with the old you, the version who tolerated their inconsistency, their mixed signals, and their half-hearted efforts. But that person doesn't exist anymore. The version of you that allowed them to take you for granted, the one who gave them second chances when they didn't deserve it, she or he is gone. And when they wake up to that truth, it hits them harder than any breakup ever could. They didn't just lose a relationship. They lost access to a version of you that they could manipulate, that they could rely on to always be there. But now, you've taken your life back. You've taken control of your own happiness, your future, your energy, and your peace. This is the final blow to their ego, the moment when they finally realize what they've truly lost. Not just a person, but a chance to grow alongside you. They had the opportunity to build something incredible with you, to experience the best version of yourself, but they squandered it. And now they have to live with that regret for the rest of their lives. At first, they might try to convince themselves that they can win you back. They might think that if they say the right things, promise to change, or show up with a grand gesture, you'll come running. But the moment they see the new you, the shift in your energy, the way you no longer respond to their games, they'll realize that they can't get back the person they once had. You aren't the same person anymore. No amount of apologies or empty promises can bring you back to that place of vulnerability and uncertainty. And that realization, that is what will haunt them. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And right now, your thoughts are no longer consumed by them. They no longer occupy space in your mind. You've moved on, focused on your own growth, healing, and success. They, on the other hand, are stuck in the past, looking at a version of you they can't reach, wishing they'd seen your worth when they had the chance. Remember this: your silence is your power. They expected you to crumble, to beg for closure, to fall apart without them. Instead, you outgrew them, and now they're the ones left questioning their decisions, regretting their actions, and suffering in silence. No contact isn't about making them chase. It's about freeing yourself from their grasp. You've stepped into your power, and now they have no choice but to watch you rise. If this resonated with you, hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. And always remember, your strength comes from within. You don't need their validation, their closure, or their permission to thrive. Keep moving forward, and I'll see you in the next one.